The unsolved case of the Cleveland torso murderer. Imagine a city gripped by fear, where bodies are found dismembered and discarded like refuse. This is the story of the Cleveland torso murderer, a phantom who stalked the shadows of the Great Depression, leaving a legacy of terror that haunts Cleveland to this day. The Cleveland torso murderer, a name whispered in hushed tones, remains one of America's most chilling unsolved mysteries. This elusive killer, also known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, terrorized Cleveland in the 1930s. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, the murderer was never identified or brought to justice. Several factors contributed to the failure to apprehend this brutal killer: the era's limitations in forensic technology, the social conditions of the victims, and the killer's own cunning all played a role. This case serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within society. The murders occurred during the 1930s, a time when forensic science was still in its infancy. Techniques we take for granted today were simply unavailable. This lack of advanced technology severely hampered the investigation. DNA testing, a cornerstone of modern crime solving, was non-existent. Fingerprint analysis, while available, was far less sophisticated than it is today. Modern crime scene investigation techniques, such as trace evidence analysis, were also unavailable. The killer's methods further complicated the investigation. Dismemberment of the victims made identification incredibly difficult. Decapitation further hindered the process of identifying the victims and establishing connections between them. The victims of the torso murderer were often transient individuals, living on the fringes of society. Many were homeless, struggling to survive during the Great Depression. Some were sex workers, further marginalizing them in the eyes of society. These victims often resided in the shanty towns of Kingsbury Run, a lawless and impoverished area of Cleveland. Their disappearances often went unnoticed, or were simply attributed to their transient lifestyles. Identifying these individuals proved to be a major challenge for investigators. The fact that the victims were marginalized members of society likely contributed to the killer's ability to operate undetected for so long. Their lives were deemed less valuable, making it easier for the murderer to prey on them. The killer was meticulous in avoiding detection, leaving few clues for investigators to follow. Bodies were disposed of in different locations, making it difficult to establish a clear pattern. The lack of witnesses further hindered the investigation. The absence of clear patterns in the killings made it difficult to track the killer's movements or predict their next victim. This elusive nature allowed the murderer to continue their reign of terror for years. The killer seemed to vanish into thin air after each gruesome act. Eliot Ness, the famous Prohibition-era crime fighter, led the efforts to catch the torso murderer. Ness employed aggressive methods in his pursuit of the killer. However, these tactics ultimately proved unsuccessful. One of Ness's most controversial actions was ordering the burning down of the Kingsbury Run shanty towns. This drastic measure was intended to drive the killer out, but it failed to yield any results. The police had several suspects, but lacked sufficient evidence to convict anyone. Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, a surgeon with a history of mental instability, was a prime suspect. He fit the profile of the killer, but despite being questioned and even undergoing a polygraph test, he was never charged. The lack of concrete evidence allowed the killer to remain free. Theories abound regarding what happened to the torso murderer. Some believe the killer relocated to another city, continuing their gruesome activities elsewhere. Others suggest the murderer was institutionalized, ending their reign of terror. It is also possible that the killer died, either from natural causes or by their own hand. Another theory suggests the killer was imprisoned for an unrelated crime, effectively stopping the murders without ever being identified as the torso murderer. The fact that the murders suddenly stopped without resolution lends credence to these theories. The killer simply vanished, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a city forever scarred by their crimes. The Cleveland torso murderer remains a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist within society. The case highlights the limitations of forensic science in the early 20th century and the challenges of investigating crimes against marginalized communities. The identity of the killer may forever remain a mystery, but the legacy of fear and fascination surrounding the case endures. What do you think happened to the Cleveland torso murderer? Was it Dr. Sweeney or someone else entirely? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most baffling unsolved cases, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more true crime mysteries and historical analyses. Click the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay curious, and remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction.